Aleichem. It's a rainy day in Central Park, New York City right now. This is a raining commentary. Raining commentary. So we're nearing Pesach, and of course it's so much to talk about at Pesach. Last night I heard a talk from Rabbi Joe Greenberg of California. Check him out. He's an amazing orator, speaker. I'm just going to repeat some of his messages, which is a talk from the Rebbe, an explanation from the Rebbe on a very well-known midrash, but a revolutionary explanation, and a story from a very famous man, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, who exemplified that teaching. So in 1964, the Rebbe spoke about the sons of the Seder, and we know there's four sons. There's the wise, the wicked, the simple, and the one who does not know how to speak, how to ask. And these are the four sons of the Seder, the four children, and really they're representative of the four types of people, of approaches that people have when it comes to Judaism, when it comes to our traditions. Some are wise and engaging and asking, for more details and explanation, and some run away from it all, and some are simply accepting what there is, and some don't even know what to ask, and all of them come together at the Seder. There's many different explanations about these four sons and the ramifications of the questions that they ask and the responses we give them at the Seder, etc. In one talk, the Rebbe, 1964, the Rebbe said that the wicked son, the one who asks, rebels, says, "This is not for me, it's all, what are you doing, you crazy people," etc. The Rebbe quotes a midrash. There's a famous, well-known midrash about how Moshe Rabbeinu, was chosen as the leader of the Jewish people. Moshe was a shepherd. He shepherded the sheep, took care of the sheep, day in, day out, and all our forefathers were shepherds. It was the choice of work specifically intended for them to have more time to meditate and to unite with God and study Torah. So the Midrash tells us that one time a small sheep left the flock, and it went, and Moshe noticed one small sheep left the flock, and Moshe chased after it. And the Midrash says he went for a long time. I don't know if it was days or weeks, but it was a long time. He chased after it for hours. It was a long time. And finally the sheep makes a beeline straight for a brook and starts drinking water. And Moshe lets the sheep drink, and then he says, "I'm so sorry." He picks up the sheep and says, "I didn't know that you were thirsty. If I would have known you were thirsty, I would have brought you to the water." And seemingly it wasn't just the long journey, the long run that made the sheep thirsty. The sheep was thirsty, looking for water. And right then and there, the Midrash says that God said to Moshe, "You took care of one single sheep with such care, such devotion. You're worthy of being the shepherd of the Jewish people, of my special flock." And that's how Moshe was, one of the stories in the Midrash, how Moshe was chosen to be the shepherd of the Jewish people, because he cared so much for that one little sheep. Most teachers, rabbis, lecturers, authors, preachers, they talk about this story about Moshe saving this one cute little sheep with a powerful message that goes to the educators and says, you know, you really need to care for the individual. You need to make sure that everyone's needs are met. Individualize your instruction, etc., etc. Which is true, obviously. But the Rebbe saw a completely different message over here in this medrash. And that is the Rebbe's incredible visionary revolution, or revolutionary visionary, or both. The Rebbe said, when Moshe picked up that sheep and said, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize you were so thirsty. He was telling us that sometimes when somebody runs away from the flock, it's because they're thirsty. Often, when someone runs away from a Jewish environment, from a Jewish home, from the Jewish way of life, Jewish lifestyle, it's because they're thirsty for more. It just wasn't presented properly to them. They just weren't taught Judaism the way it's meant to be. And therefore, says the Rebbe, when we see could be a Ben Russia, the wicked son, who is rebelling and objecting to everything Jewish, instead of beating him up and rebuking him or her, you bring them in with closeness and with love and teach them and bring them to Judaism in a different light. Bring it to them. Bring them what they're thirsting for in a presentable manner that's presentable for them. So I didn't realize that you're thirsty. If I would have known that you're thirsty, says the Rebbe, is the cry that we, all of us, need to look at another Jew who's not so close in their Jewish observance and say, oh, I see that you're thirsty. And here, let me help you drink. Rabbi Greenberg related a story in his talk last night. You can do a search. Seder Gems by Rabbi Dov Greenberg. The story of Dean Steinsaltz, a very famous rabbi, author in Israel, neither before Shalema. And he said Rabbi Steinsaltz was an academic, a giant, translated the Talmud, the Shas, the Tanya, great works by Rabbi Steinsaltz. And he had a class in some academic institution. And some of the professors, it was for the professors, and it was a class in Talmud, studying Gemara. So there was one professor who would never show up, and he was right next door to the room where the class was. So one day, as he walks out of his class, Rabbi Steinsaltz says to this professor, why don't you join us in our Talmud class? So the professor says, me and your class have nothing in common. Me and you have nothing in common. Why? Why so? So he says, me, every Shabbat morning, I have bacon and eggs for breakfast. Or bacon and cheese. And eggs. So Rabbi Steinsaltz says, okay, so are you telling me that you don't keep kosher? Well, not necessarily. All of the professors in my class keep the best kosher standards. So the man clarified. Says, no, I don't eat bacon and eggs on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Only on Shabbat. And he says, explain what's going on. So he says, he's a Holocaust survivor. His family was decimated. He's very angry at God. And he's thinking to himself, what's the best way I can get back at God? Shabbos, kosher, all at once. I ate bacon and cheese and eggs on Shabbos. He says, I'm angry with God. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Rabbi Steinsaltz, in his wisdom, using the Rebbe's approach, he said, so, Professor, you're telling me that you and I have a lot in common. Because we both observe Shabbos intensely, very intensely. I observe it differently than you do, but we both observe, we both believe in God, we both know that Shabbos is holy, we know that kosher is holy, and we both observe it, just in different ways. You belong in our class. Soon after he joined the class, and later on at some event here in Manhattan, this professor introduced Rabbi Steinsaltz and told the story and how it had transformed his life for the better, where Rabbi Steinsaltz saw in the rebellion, he saw the thirst, like the wicked son at the Seder table, Ben Russia. In the rebellion, sometimes it's really just a thirst. And I'm going to stretch that as the Rebbe also always spoke about a fifth son. In the Seder, in the Haggadah, there's only 4 sons. The wise, the wicked, the simple, and the one who does not know how to ask. But the Rebbe said there's also a 5th son, and that's the one who doesn't even show up to the Seder. And it's our job, said the Rebbe, to ensure that every Jew has a Seder. Every Jew has matzah and wine and what they need for Passover. And of course now we're doing what we can to make sure that it goes to individual homes. Every Chabad center is inundated with requests for matzah, for wine, for other Passover needs. So wherever you are, you can support your local Chabad house and help them bring Pesach to all the homes, all the quarantined homes this year. And hopefully next year we'll all celebrate in Jerusalem with Mashiach. Take care. Thanks for joining. Share.